the case of bureaucracy, and here actually my entire emphasis is on specialization, and I'll use an example to illustrate this. I don't know how many of you followed this. In 2014, Bill Gates challenged Magnus Carlsen to a chess match in 2014. I'm sure you must have watched in YouTube. It was set up with a lot of fanfare, and you know what happened? Magnus Carlsen defeated Bill Gates in 80 seconds. Just 80 seconds. Imagine having, let's say two of you sit down for a chess game, and one of you loses in 80 seconds. Why? What's the learning from here? The learning is that as the world chess champion, Magnus Carlsen is a specialist in chess. For all the ability that Bill Gates has, all the accomplishments he has, he is still a generalist when it comes to chess. This was actually an example of how specialists can eat their lunch over generalists. And I think this is the important lesson. Let me speculate. If, for instance, Magnus Carlsen had challenged, let's say, Bill Gates to writing a software program or maybe coming up with a product, I'm sure Bill Gates would have made equal mincemeat of Magnus Carlsen. That example also illustrates the importance of specialization. In this country, we do not recognize the importance of specialization. We actually think that somebody who's basically ran, let's say, ministries can go and run the BCCI. No, that can't happen. While ability is there, we have to recognize the importance of specialization. And therefore, the extensive set of proposals that I've written down in the bureaucracy is to enable specialization. We cannot have a situation, just think about it, right? The bureaucrats are also drawn from people like this, right? There'll be some people who will maybe go and work into the bureaucracy, you'll go into the IAS, IFS, etc. And there'll be others who will go and work in the private sector. So it's not as if that segment is far more brilliant than the other segment who goes and works in the private sector. And yet, what does happen? An IAS officer works in agriculture, and then goes and works in science and technology, and then works in commerce, and then DEA. Can it be possible that the expertise that a doctor has acquired over 30 years, an individual acquires in 3 months, and after having acquired that expertise in 3 months, then goes to commerce, and all the expertise that industrialists, basically those who do commerce, have acquired over 30 years, this person acquires over 3 months. Not just that, then goes basically to Department of Science and Technology, and then acquires the expertise that a scientist has acquired over 30 years, acquires in 3 months, and then comes to DEA and what economists acquire over 30 years acquires in 3 months. No, that's just not possible. And I think this is something we need to recognize, the importance of specialization. I have no hesitation in saying, when I was with the government, I have seen some of the wonderful benefits that some specialists brought. The couple of people whom I worked with actually were trained very well in economics. One of them was from IMA, another basically was a PhD in economics, and I was able to see the kind of benefits that came from specialization. But we need to do far more at a widespread level. So bureaucracy is actually, the emphasis needs to be on specialization, because I worry maybe when we are actually having these conversations across the table, negotiations, maybe it is actually a Bill Gates versus Magnus Carlsen chess match that is happening, and I'm not I feel nervous about that as an Indian then.